We started the initial outreach or conversations were in India and in Asia, and then eventually we sort of,
Hello and welcome everyone to the next episode of the AIM Media House podcast Simulated Reality. Today we have with us a special guest. He's the founder and CEO of Fractal Analytics, Pranay Agrawal. Welcome Pranay. How are you today?
I'm good, very good. Thank you very much, Kashyap, for having me on the show. It's nice to be here and excited to do this.
Fantastic. I'm also very excited to talk about analytics with someone who has been doing it way before data analytics, became a term. Fractal was established as a data analytics firm from the get-go, pure play data analytics, and they have been empowering enterprises, big enterprises with decisions, data-driven decisions. Before we dive into the subject and talk about, how to kind of power enterprises with decisions with data and analytics, I just want to understand a little bit behind your thought process of when you started Fractal as to how what was the thought process behind it? Because at that time, there were a lot of companies that were providing IT services or, BPO and KPO services. Soon it turned to, data was owned by a lot of IT people, and then soon it moved towards more business decision making. How did that transition happen, around 20, 21 years back? And what was your thought process when you started the company?
Right. We were just in the midst of wrapping up a dot-com venture, which was going nowhere. And so we were sort of, thinking what next, right? What should we do from here? IT and, the whole internet, all of that was a big rage at that time. But like you said, there were many IT companies already, right? And the question was that what could we do that is different and create value for in a different way? And Shrikant at that point of time came up with this idea. I said, how about applying mathematics to businesses? If we can apply mathematics to businesses and help them make better decisions using mathematics, that would be something different. And of course, that meant algorithms, it meant data. And that's kind of how we started thinking about it. It seemed like, okay, it's a unique idea. It is, and it has tremendous potential for creating value. We were inspired by some of the things that we saw, such as, the credit scoring work that was being done, outside of India in the developed markets. We had personally done a fair amount of work in the capital markets side, applying deep algorithms to solve for market related issues and opportunities. And we sort of said, okay, it is possible to apply this to a wide range of applications within businesses. And that's kind of how the idea took shape. Yeah.
Fantastic. And how has this decision making changed over a period of time, right? I'm sure at the very start, when you probably started out, you said that we will do data analytics for you or data science for you. Probably the adoption was not as that high, right? How did you convince customers to kind of say that, there's a lot of potential, there's a lot of value? Or was it an easy sell because, they could see immediate results?
So, no, it wasn't an easy sell. And I think it varied a lot by markets as well. We started the initial outreach or conversations were in India and in Asia, and then eventually we sort of branched out to the US, and it was I would say an easier sell in the US. I think largely because the size gives you a certain advantage where you can start to make small decisions, and when those small decisions give you an advantage over a very large base, that totals up to a pretty substantial benefit for the company. So the purpose around what we do, which is powering every decision to help our clients deliver better outcomes to their customers, their employees, their shareholders, the communities that they operate in, that purpose or mission has stayed pretty much the same over time. The method of delivering it, however, has evolved a lot. When we started, it was really about doing statistical models, using your standard traditional statistical models, linear regressions and logistic regressions, and various kinds of things to help make predictive decisions. And then over time, that has evolved with various things, the technology around the mathematics or the modeling has evolved, and then AI took off in a big way in 2014. So one of the first pivots that we had was from going from just analytics to AI. The second big thing that's happened over time is that the ability to store data and to use data, that has gone up tremendously, right? And therefore it presented with a real opportunity to just move from insights and decisions to operationalizing whatever you do, right? So you start getting to this area of enterprise scale AI driven applications, and then you realize that we realize that if that's what we are going to do, then it's very important to put the user at the center of the solution. That user could be an internal stakeholder within a company, it could be their customers, and therefore design and behavioral sciences become very important. So today we are doing this. We are powering every decision in the enterprise by bringing together this combined force of AI, engineering, and design.
Correct. And it's very interesting that at the start it was difficult, but now it has come to a point where almost all of the decisions are based on data driven. In fact, I was speaking to a CDO of a retail e-commerce company, and he said to me that I really like working here as a CDO, because the leadership truly believes that every decision should be data driven. Is that something that you're observing across the landscape, or is this something that has is still changing over a period of time? And if it is still changing, what are some of the efforts that Fractal is taking to empowering them with data, right?
So look, I think firstly, look, all businesses want to make good decisions, right? I think that is just that's just a fact, right? Because everyone knows they make better decisions, they will deliver better outcomes. So that's number one. I think the amount of data that companies use, it varies by the nature of the decision. It's not just about the amount of data or data decision support system, it is the process as well. It varies by the type of decisions, and of course it varies by different companies, right? And yeah, it is possible that you are a digital native e-commerce company, and that's really how you were born with technology and data and everything being driven that way. So it is a very natural place for you to operate in. It could be different from another company, but what we find is that really, if you think of three categories of decisions that companies can broadly make, right? One is strategic. These are decisions that are high impact and very low in frequency. That could be things such as a new product launch, entry into a new geography, a M&A. It could be a brand restatement, right? So these are very high impact decisions. These are infrequent decisions, and the cost of going wrong is very high, right? And there isn't enough frequency of these decisions for us to make algorithmic based decisions. So there is a lot of data analysis that can go into it, but then there is a lot of judgment that needs to be applied as well.
Okay.
Then you think of tactical decisions, right? And these could be decisions such as, we're making, these are lower impact than strategic, and there's more frequency around these decisions, right? And these could be things like, okay, how many units of this product should I manufacture? Okay, it could be something like, okay, where should I open my next warehouse? Where should I open my next retail store, right? Or, what price range should I operate in, and stuff like that. So these are medium impact decisions. Frequency is lower, right? And but there is the possibility of supporting human decisions with algorithms over here. So the people still have to make those decisions, right? But algorithms and past experiences can start to support those decisions. And then you have operational decisions, and these are decisions that are very high in frequency. Each one of those single decisions by themselves have low impact. But collectively, if you can improve the quality of the decision making around thousands of those operational decisions, you can drive to a much better level of outcomes. And these would include things like, okay, where should I place my next ad? Correct? Where can I place my next digital advertisement? Right? Okay, what price should I offer tomorrow, given something that's changed in the market, and those kinds of things. Whom should I make the next offer to? Whom should I call to make a collection? And those kinds of decisions, right? And these are decisions there where the largest amount of automation and algorithmic decision making can take place, right? And you see that across companies, that they're all sort of treat these decisions differently.
I think it's a very, very interesting perspective to see, right? Put it on two axes,
Yeah.
the frequency and the impact. And
Yes.
I guess if you have to enter a newer sector or a newer market, right? probably the idea would be to enter in low impact, high frequency. If you're going to make the first sell probably to the company and, make their decisions, and then slowly, move them to a higher impact, high frequency, as well as higher impact.
Yeah. So look, I think companies, as they start to experiment with new technologies, and I mean that holds true for AI and for everything around algorithmic decision making. Yes, I think there is clear need to do experiments on areas that have a low cost of failure,
Yeah, low
and things
impact.
that
Yeah.
and things that can be very easily reversed. So as an example, one of the things that we are telling our clients today on the area of Gen AI is that we understand that there are tremendous risks, right. There could be a risk of bad customer experience. There could be brand risk. There could be a risk of inadvertently doing something that's not ethical or it's biased, right. And one of the ways to sort of deal with that and learn and get better before we go to these more higher impact decisions is that maybe we start by focusing more on inward oriented applications, right, where our risks are lower, right. So as an example, automating a range of things that may relate to documentation. I need to do underwriting, and my underwriting process is very manual and very tedious. It involves collecting a vast amount of data from different places, putting it all together, and then evaluating it all. Can we use Gen AI to sort of just collect all of that data, populate all the documentation, and smoothen out that whole process of decision making? So this is just an example of in ways in which companies can start to do this in a low risk manner, learn, and then start to make higher and higher impact decisions using data and algorithms.
Fantastic. I think this framework puts a lot of perspective into how Fractal is approaching, empowering enterprises with decision making, data driven decision making. What are some of the other factors that differentiate Fractal today? Because there are a lot of data science service providers. A lot of data science service providers are building their own products, while there are also many product companies coming. But Fractal has a very unique approach in terms of adopting a strategy that will, enable enterprises make decisions. What is that? What is that differentiating factor with Fractal?
Right. And I think it really stems from our first value at Fractal, which is always put the client first, right? So our thinking here is that we have to be decision backwards, not data forwards, and not data and technology forward. So one approach is to say that I have all of this data and I have all of this technology. Now let me see what can I do with it, right? And that will lead you down one path. Another approach is to say, okay, our mission is to help power every decision in the enterprise. It comes from the very clear thinking that if we help our clients make better decisions, they will deliver better outcomes to their customers, their employees, their shareholders, and the communities that they operate in, right? So what are these critical decisions that our clients need to make? What are the important goals, important problems, and opportunities that our client face, right? And how do we support those? How do we help them take better actions supported by better decisions? And then you move backwards from there, that for these decisions, these are the kinds of insights we need, and therefore for that, we need such and such kind of algorithms to support those algorithms. These are the kinds of data sources that we need. And now how do we bring it all together while keeping the user at the center of the solution, right? So we think that that is really the core secret: decision backwards, user centered, and bringing AI engineering and design together.
Fantastic. One of the thought that crosses my mind with this, right? Putting the client first. And this happened to me all the time. I also used to work as a data scientist for a brief period of time, right? And I used to be like, okay, there is going to be a fresh data scientist who's just out of college working on solutions to someone who's been in the business for a long, long period of time, and they have been doing that really well, right? What is it that Fractal enables? How does it enable its data scientists to kind of consult some of the biggest organizations in across the world, to make decisions and tell them that this is probably better than this, especially because even they have been doing it for so long. And obviously data helps, but I think there has to be a little bit more element into what it is, right?
Yeah. So look, firstly, I think what we do is that we are very clear believers and implementers that big problems cannot be solved by just one skill set. So, data science, AI, that is just one part of the skill set that is required. Ultimately, we have to create impact, right? And that means that we need to understand the client's business, right? And of course, we will not know the client's businesses better than them, or better than them in all the situations. But then we know the business well enough to ask the right questions, to be able to understand the problems and frame and reframe the problems. So that is one part of the skill set that's really important, right? And when we say client first, it does not mean that you do exactly as the client says. To create real value for the client, you have to ask questions, and you have to enable them also to reframe their asks, right? So I think that is a very critical part of the skill set, that ability to consult and to ask the questions and understand the real business issues, right? And once you have that, and you have framed the problem and framed a solution structure around that, then you apply the different skills to different parts of that solution creation journey. Some of it might be around creating the underlying data infrastructure, or getting the right data, cleansing that data, ensuring that that data is constantly feeding into the algorithms. Some of it is around the data science to create those algorithms. Some of it would be around creating those front end applications through which the users can consume the AI and the data without having to see any of the complexity and messiness behind it. Because ultimately, the users don't care. They want a very simple way in which to use and to make their decisions.
Yeah, yeah. No, that is definitely true, right? And with regards to a follow-up question to that, I'm sure that, some of earlier we talked about that the adoption was a big issue, right? Probably convincing the customer. Today, everybody is sold that data-driven decision making
Yeah.
is the way forward. But I want to understand from you, what are some of the challenges that your team faces today in 2023? When
Mm.
it comes to working with customers and enabling data driven decision making within their companies. I want to understand from today's context.
Yeah. So I think firstly, I mean, again, I'll put it at two different levels, right? One level would be that if I put at an organization level, which is that organizations that have created the mandate and that are moving forward, what might differentiate organizations that are doing this more purposefully and aggressively versus others that may be slower to adopt? And I think that comes down to, one is really, the vision and imagination, right? So right at the top, does the organization have the leadership, have they provided the vision around implementing these technologies to drive better outcomes, in their business context? And then equally, what are the fears within the organization, and how are they addressing those fears, right? Whether those are fears around privacy, fears around doing it ethically, all of those kinds of things, right? So those are two aspects which are very critical, which give the organization the permission and the vision to do more or to not, right? So, or that's one. When you come down to specific problems, I think one of the most important thing is designing the problem or framing the problem right up front. I think that is the really important step, without which you could be down the path of spinning a lot of wheels around data and technology without a clear purpose in mind, right? So I think agreeing on that is very, very important. And even after doing this for several years, and having several successful implementations, every now and then you'll run into situations where you've been doing stuff for several weeks to find, oh, actually we somehow missed out this thing right at the beginning, which if this had been agreed upon and discussed at the beginning, there might have been a different path to take. So I think that is one aspect. Algorithms are very, very data hungry. So I think that is an issue which and it's, I don't call that as a challenge or an obstacle. It's just a genuine thing that we have to address, and we just, everyone keeps getting better at addressing it as and as we continue to work on it. So making sure that we are providing good, clean data, and we are continuously finding new ways in which to enrich these algorithms with different data sources. And I think third is that this is an ongoing issue. It is going to be around talent. right?
Correct.
People that know how to develop the technology, and people who also have the ability to deploy and use the technology. So I think both of these, so those are some of the key things I'd say.
So essentially, Pranay, you made 3 points, right, in terms of the challenges faced by data science service providers. One was ethics, the second was availability of data, and third was talent. While I'm sure that the second and the third point are some of the problems that have been existing, and companies have been solving that. Especially the first one, I think Fractal has taken a very unique approach to it. I think they have hired or positioned someone as a head of responsible AI, right? Ethics of private, to
Yeah, yeah,
address
yeah,
ethics of privacy, which is a very interesting this thing. And can you help us understand a little bit around what his role is, and what are some of what exactly their team achieves, so that
yeah, sure. So just one clarification. What I laid out is that number one is that vision and addressing the real fears and concerns, right? And one of the fears is around ethics and privacy and all of that stuff, right? So that was in that context. And then, of course, the next is being able to define the problem statement, having the right appointed data and talent. So, in terms of ethical AI, what we figured is that this is going to be really important, and there is going to be more and more requirement, not just from governments, but also from people as citizens. And we felt it was the right thing to do, and get ahead of the game. So we have created an ethical AI framework which is focused around things such as transparency, explainability, then elimination of bias. So there are various components to this, and what we do is that every piece of work that we do, we internally assess how it is clearing the AI framework, the responsible AI framework that Fractal has created. And then we are also running this whole responsible AI framework workshops for our clients, so that our clients sort of get educated about this. Then in some cases we are helping them implement this, and then in some situations in partnership with clients, we are also certifying projects as responsible AI certified. It is still early days, but we have created the frameworks, we have created the technology, we have created the education material around it, and we're working with our clients to make this an integral part of all AI work.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Pranay, for this. Any closing thoughts you have? What does the future hold for Fractal, especially in terms of data analytics and the entire AI spectrum?
Look, we are very bullish and very positive about the overall space, but not just from the space in the standpoint of it being a great business opportunity. I think overall, if you look at the impact that AI can have on the well-being of humankind, and how we can, create a better world across a whole host of areas, we feel very, very bullish about the impact of AI and technology.
Fantastic. On that note, thank you so much, Pranay, for making the time for this interview.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Kashyap. Really appreciate it. Thank you for
Thank
the
you.
opportunity.